Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Faith and I am a full-time fashion reseller on apps like Poshmark, eBay, and Mercari. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you my top sales from 2021. So how I classified what my top sales were is I took all of my sales that were for over $100 and sold within 30 days. These are likely also my highest profit sales. However, I know that you can pick up all of these brands that I'm sharing with you for different dollar amounts based off of where you live. So I want to share them based off of gross sales numbers just because your cost of goods varies so much depending on where you live and what you have access to. So that's the criteria that I am basing all of these sales off of. There are 57 sales, so buckle up. This is going to probably be a long video, which I know a lot of you guys enjoy. If you do learn something new from this and enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe so you never miss any more content with me. Okay, let's get into it. So like I mentioned, there were 57 sales from 2021. It is the middle of December right now, so I am adding all the sales that I have made up into this point into December, but obviously, you know, the year's not done. Hopefully I have a couple more. I'll start by sharing just a few interesting data points from everything that I'm going to share. 84% of these sales came from Poshmark, 12% came from eBay, 2% came from Mercari, and 2% came from Tradesy. So that means that only one of these sales was from Mercari. Definitely most of my sales on Mercari are lower dollar items, and one of these sales came from Tradesy, which I just started cross-listing on Tradesy this past month. So definitely should have been doing that sooner on in the year. I've said it here a ton of times, Reformation is one of my highest selling brands for mainly dresses, but also for other categories, and 26% of the sales that I'm going to share with you guys are from the brand Reformation. So when you guys identify what your best-selling brand is, definitely run with it and try to capitalize on whatever brand that is for you. 40% of these top sales are dresses, 18% are sweaters, another 18% came from shoes, 14% were from jackets, 7% were jeans, 2% were jumpsuits, and 0% were tops. Death to tops. I hate selling tops. And also 0% were from bags, which I probably could have tried harder on bags this year, but they scare me. So that is a goal for 2022. I'm gonna go through these in the order in which I made the sale. So we'll start with like January and then go all the way down into today pretty much. So the first one is this Ulla Johnson V-neck poncho. This was my very first sale of Ulla Johnson, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm sure. And I sourced this online. It sold for $130 and it took 25 days to sell. This was a very controversial sale, if you remember it from a past What Sold video, but the brand is Farm Rio. I love finding Farm Rio when I can, but it's not a brand that I really come across very often, and even online sourcing, I have a hard time finding it for a low enough price. But I picked this one up at TJ Maxx. It is this beautiful midi dress. It sold for $170 on Poshmark and it took 18 days to sell. Next is this plaid maxi dress from the brand The Great. I do enjoy selling The Great, however, the resale value I feel like has gone down a little bit, so definitely make sure you're doing research and checking comps. But this dress did sell for $132, and this was the one Mercari sale that's going to make the list. And it sold within 11 days. This was probably one of my favorite sales of 2021. It was this Tory Burch bandana printed caftan dress. I picked this up from a Nordstrom Rack Clear the Rack sale. It sold for $190 and it took 23 days to sell. Up next is this Young Fabulous in Broke eyelet dress. It sold for $135 and it took 14 days to sell. I picked this up at a TJ Maxx and I definitely was one of the first people to hop on this item because it became oversaturated very fast, and I think probably 6 or 7 people stole my cover photo for this dress because with Young, Fabulous, and Broke, if you don't know, there are not a lot of stock photos out there. It's very hard to come across them, so that's why I'm able to sell this brand for a lot more maybe than most people, because I take the time to model the garment, whatever, instead of just posting a picture of the clothing like hanging up on a hanger. And because of this, a lot of people do steal my photos for this brand, but it's not really worth my time to track them down, and I'm not going to put a watermark over my pictures because that messes with the search results, and I definitely want my listings to show up on Google. So it is what it is. I really don't care enough to do anything about it, but anyways, I digress. So this next sale are a pair of redone straight leg jeans. 2021 was definitely the year of straight leg and wide leg jeans. That was pretty much all I picked up this past year. I love selling redone. These sold for $135 and they only took 13 days to sell. I believe I picked these ones up at a buy sell trade store. I was so happy that I found the brand Retrofit this past year. I sourced this dress online. It was a like bright neon green color, which, believe it or not, was a trending color, specifically with more like Gen Z age range. It was, I don't know, it was poppin' color for some reason, but it sold for $275. It sold on Poshmark and it sold within 10 days. Up next are these Fry cowboy boots that sold on eBay. These sold for $101, and this was back in earlier in the year when I was selling on eBay and I was still offering free shipping, even on shoes. I changed that up real quick after I learned my lesson a couple times. I think these boots probably were part of that decision making. I paid $14.80 for shipping. With eBay, it's so tricky to figure out what to do with shipping. With Poshmark, it's so easy because the buyer just pays that flat rate. But I have since changed my shipping strategy with eBay, and I don't do free shipping on any items unless it's like something that I've listed for $400 or $500 and it's a light item. Even if I haven't listed that much and it's a pair of shoes, I still make the buyer pay for shipping, and I honestly thought that would slow down my eBay sales and make it so people didn't want to buy things, because I thought that maybe a lot of people filtered by free shipping and that was something that was like really important to buyers, and then obviously it is, and I was thinking like I had to keep up with Amazon and all that, but the truth is it's so different. And honestly, I have made more eBay sales by putting in more effort, and that was even after taking away the free shipping. So I really just think it comes down to the amount of effort that you're putting in the platform, and I think free shipping or not free shipping, you'll still make sales. I will also say though, if you have lower priced items, maybe that does make more of a difference. I think more at the higher end price items, that little bit of extra shipping costs doesn't make that much of a difference. That could also be a variable. Up next is this Reformation Tory button front linen dress. This sold for $100 on Poshmark and it took 20 days to sell. Next is a Reformation black silk jumpsuit. It sold for $100 and it took 1 day to sell. That was a very quick flip for me. Next is a Suzanne sweater. I did a ship with me video and this was one of the sweaters that I talked a lot about because there's kind of a funny story behind it, but I actually found this at the bins. But the collar, you see that white collar, it was so yellow and disgusting, so I ended up taking it to a dry cleaner and she fixed it up like super quick, so I added to my cost of goods, but since I got it at the bins it really didn't matter. So I ended up selling for $121 and it sold within 24 hours. Next is a midi dress from the brand A Piece Apart. This, I will say, is a good brand. However, I think the price has gone down a little bit on the resale market of what you can get for it. So definitely, again, keep this one on your radar. I still would pick it up, but it definitely would have to be for the right price. This one sold for $100 and it took 12 days to sell. Okay, now we have a little chunk of Reformation here. A lot of these are from when I went to the Reformation sample sale. This was the Reformation Wellfleet dress. It sold for $200 and it only took 7 days to sell. I must have sold this dress the same day because this one also took 7 days to sell, but it's the Reformation Milan wedding dress. And this one sold for $350, which was awesome. This was the Juliet dress and it sold for $180 and it sold, all three of those sold on Poshmark. I also want to point out that now we're up until June. So all those sales wasn't really a lot, over $100 that flipped super quick from January to June. So the majority of the chunk of sales on the higher end came from June up into December, which is definitely the time where I started shifting heavily into my high ASP like business model. I always kind of had that mindset, but I definitely took it to that next level the second half of the year. So it was kind of interesting to see like where majority of the sales fell, and you can definitely tell, or I know because I put a lot more effort into it, so that was cool to see reflected. But these next boots are from the brand Blundstone, which is a huge BOLO. These were some Chelsea boots that I grabbed at Nordstrom Rack at the Clear the Rack sale. These sold for $150 and they sold the same day that I listed them. Next is the Reformation Sigmund dress. This sold for $200. This was a dress that I grabbed at the sample sale. It sold within 20 days of listing. And the next one is another Reformation dress. It is the Rudy dress. This was my highest profit sale to date up until December. I ended up beating it, and you'll see that sale at the very end. But I sold this dress for $350 and it took 25 days to sell. Next is this Young, Fabulous, and Broke black slip midi dress. It sold for $100 and it took 9 days to sell. This is the Reformation Belinda dress. It sold for $120 and it sold within 12 days. Next is this Barber waterproof jacket. It sold for $193 and it took 29 days to sell. Barber is a fabulous outerwear brand to pick up, definitely a BOLO, and the price has stayed true. It hasn't decreased in value for quite some time, so that one definitely is tried and true if you do find it. Next are these Silver Lake jeans. I have mentioned this brand before as one of my, actually I'm gonna say this is my #1 favorite brand of jeans to sell, like period. But these were a pair of cargo jeans and Gigi Hadid had actually worn these, so I think that's why they flipped so quick. Well, not this exact same pair, but this exact same style. Next is this Zadig and Voltaire scoop neck sweater. It sold for $123 and it took 5 days to sell. I sourced this sweater from the Real actually, and it was part of my designer Real haul that I did. Next is another pair of Blundstone boots. I found this pair at a buy sell trade store. They sold for $103. They sold for a little less because they were pre-owned and the other pair were new without tags. They only retail for like $190, so the fact that they can retain that value is amazing. And this pair flipped in 22 days. I have no idea how to say this next brand, but it's definitely a BOLO. It's Mariam Nasser Zadi, I don't know, but I sold these pair of woven pumps that I picked up from a buy sell trade store. I learned this brand from Recloth Collection actually. They sold for $120 and they took 15 days to sell. I actually think I could have listed these a little bit higher, but this is my first time finding these shoes and I was a little unsure about the style, but I for sure could have probably priced these a little bit higher. Next are these Stuart Weitzman Highland suede over the knee boots. These sold for $399 on Poshmark and they took 23 days to sell. I sell a lot of Stuart Weitzman boots and I will say that the Highland boots sell for a lot more and more consistently than the Lowland boot, which is the flat one, and then the Thailand boot is like a 2-inch heel, and those do sell pretty good, but the Highland ones with the high heel do the best. Next is this Cezanne polka dot dress. I picked this up at a buy sell trade store, and they only had it priced for $16. So I was so excited when I found that. It sold for $145 12 days after listing. Next is another pair of Stuart Weitzman boots. This is the Thailand pair, so you can see what I was talking about. These sold for $300 and they took 23 days to sell. Next is another pair of Silver Lake jeans. These ones sold for $155 and they took 16 days to sell. So you can probably tell that I pick up a lot of the same brands. Once you find something that works well for you, I definitely go out of my way to seek it out, whether that is, I mean, you can't control what you are finding at a buy sell trade store or when you're thrifting, so that's why I kind of take matters into my own hands and why I love doing online arbitrage, because once you find brands that you have personal experience with or that you've heard do really well, and if you're not out finding these things on a consistent basis when you're outsourcing in person, definitely you need to take control into your own hands and go out and find them yourself online for the right price. You can't let fate and manifestation rule your business or the thrift gods decide where you're going to find good stuff. You really kind of have to take control of it on your own. That's something that I've definitely learned and implemented this past year in 2021. Anyways, the next brand is this Nili Lotan cashmere v-neck sweater. Love Nili Lotan. This sweater sold for $200 and it only took 14 days to sell. Next is this Babaton trench coat. It sold for $120 and it sold within 4 days. Up next is this Sandro faux fur coat. It sold for $190 and it only took 3 days to sell. This was one of those pieces that I kind of took a chance on. I sourced this online and I had never sold anything Sandro before, but I knew teddy coats were very trendy and in this year, and I also knew Sandro was a high-end brand, but I never had personal experience, so I took a chance on it and I made an amazing sale. So since then I have definitely gone on my way to seek that out again and try to repeat the success that I had with it. Another pair of Silver Lake jeans. I sold these for $170 and they took 16 days to sell. Next is this Young Fabulous in Broke bleached cardigan sweater. It sold for $100 and it took 7 days to sell. I picked this up at TJ Maxx. Anytime that I sell Young Fabulous and Broke and it's new with tags, you can just assume that I got it at TJ Maxx because TJ Maxx is like my supplier for the Young Fabulous and Broke. But next are these Stuart Weitzman Highland boots. They sold for $385 and they sold within 10 days of listing. Next up is this Ula Johnson cable knit sweater. It sold for $120 and it took 25 days to sell. Next is this Doen crew neck ruffle sweater. I thought this was so cute and I was so happy to find it. I sourced this one online. It sold for $140 26 days after listing. Next up is this Young Fabulous and Broke distressed sweater. It sold for $105 23 days after listing. Next is this a Goldie Nolan crew neck sweater. I don't know why I said that so weird, but it sold for $120 and it took 28 days to sell. I sourced this one at TJ Maxx also. Next is an eBay sale. This is a Veronica Beard plaid Dickie blazer. It sold for $217 and it took 15 days to sell. Next is this Reformation Nap Velvet Black maxi dress. It sold for $179 and it sold the same day that I listed it. Next up is this Doen floral maxi dress. I sourced this at the Doen sample sale. That was such a cool experience to go to that sample sale. It was crazy. I've only been to 2 and the first one was Reformation and then the Doen sample sale. I sold this dress for $347 on eBay, and it sold 2 days after listing. Next are these Ted Baker leather boots. I picked these up at a buy-sell trade store. They sold on Poshmark for $125, and they took 3 days to sell. Next is this All Saints Belfern leather biker jacket. If you watched my last What Sold video, you will know this is actually a bad sale for me based off of like my profit, but it did sell for $300. So if you're able to find it for less than I paid for it, then by all means definitely go for it. It only took 16 days to sell. Next is this Suzanne cable knit bobble sweater. I found this at a buy-sell trade store. It sold for $115, and it took 15 days to sell. Okay, now on to the December sale. So these are new. I highly doubt everyone watches all of my What Sold videos from beginning to end since that, like, I started my channel, so hopefully you didn't remember a lot of these sales, but these ones are gonna be completely new, never shared before. Okay, this, I know I mentioned, I did a little teaser of my highest profit sale to date. This one has ranked #1. It took the place of that Reformation dress. So these are Paris, Texas metallic boots that I picked up from the Nordstrom rack Black Friday sale. I paid $133 for these, and they sold for $500 on Poshmark, and it only took 2 days to sell. So highest profit right there. I made a profit of $266. So man, this is my first experience sending something into Poshmark HQ for authentication before going to the buyer. And honestly, it was kind of a bad experience because it took 10 days for them to authenticate it. And the boots are just getting delivered today to the buyer. They sold on December 2nd, and it's the 18th right now. So that is extremely ridiculous, and the buyer was very frustrated because she needed them for an event, and she's probably going to miss that. So fingers crossed everything goes well with it and they're delivered today and I get my funds released, but I haven't shared this sale anywhere because I don't want to jinx it. But hopefully I didn't just jinx it just now. Next is the this For Love of Lemons maxi dress. This is the one tradesy sale that I made. This is my very first tradesy sale. I paid $37.50 for this dress. I picked it up at a buy-sell trade store. It sold for $161, and it took 13 days to sell. Next up is this Reformation denim jacket. I paid $37.50 for this at a buy-sell trade store. It sold for $100 19 days after listing. Next is this Reformation black silk midi dress. I paid $49.65 for this. I sourced it online. I sold this dress for $130, and it sold 3 days after listing. Another Reformation dress, actually the next two are Reformation dresses. This is the Amsterdam floral print maxi dress. I paid $36.69 for it. I sourced this dress online. It sold on Poshmark for $100, so I made a profit of $43.31, and it only took 15 days to sell. Next is this Reformation floral slip like midi dress. I paid $36.65 for it. I sourced this dress online. It sold for $141, so I made a profit of $81.52. Sorry, my phone was being so annoying on Google Sheets, so I had to switch. But I made $81.52, and it sold within 2 days of listing, and it sold on eBay if I didn't mention that before. Next is another eBay sale. This is a 7 for All Mankind herringbone trench coat. This was a really beautiful coat. The profit on this wasn't amazing, but it did flip super quick, so I paid $62.80, which in hindsight was a little bit on the high end, but I did price it a little bit lower because 7 for All Mankind is not the best brand to sell, but I thought that the style of this and the fact that it was a high quality coat would have worked in my favor. So it sold for $148.75. It was an eBay sale, you know, that explains anything, but after shipping and everything, it was because of shipping, that's why, yeah. So after shipping and everything, I made a profit of $52, which is still amazing, so I can't really complain, and I sold it within 16 days. And lastly is another 7 for All Mankind brushed long line jacket. I picked these both up at the same time. I sold this one on Poshmark. I paid $42.80 for this one. It sold for full price. This is a full price sale on Poshmark. So I made a profit of $77.20, and it took 23 days to sell. All right, those are all 57 of the sales that I made this past year that were my best sales. A lot of learning lessons from this past year. So many. I probably will make a video of like a year in reflection and everything that I learned this past year is my first full year as a full-time reseller, and where I even started from just the beginning of 2021 to the end of 2021 was such a huge growth for me, so I'm excited to see where 2022 takes me. Thank you guys so much for following along on my journey. Honestly, it means a lot, and YouTube as part of like my business has been really awesome for me this past year, and I really love creating videos. So every time you guys watch a video, honestly, it means a lot to me because it feels weird that like I post videos and put them on the internet and people actually watch them, so it still is kind of like weird for me. So honestly, when like one person comments on my video, it makes me feel not so much like a loser for posting videos online. But yeah, anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys next week.